Alright, what is up, YouTube? The one thing I hate about living in my hometown is that there is no good spots to sit down. Like, I'm sitting at a baseball diamond surrounded by a bunch of other pathways where people can walk and intersect with me making this video. And there's like people in all directions. And so it's hard for me to really like speak confidently, and not only just at like a volume perspective, but also like what I'm talking about and my expressions and how deep I get into certain topics and ideas. But I want to make this video about like 3 things. I'll say them out loud right now. The first thing is that the whole like low cortisol, like don't spike your cortisol, never stress movement, right? I want to talk about that. I mean, that's what the title of this video is going to be about, so I'll talk about that first. And the other 2 things are like being in a state of survival, right? So like never actually taking the time to think and just like constantly surviving. And then third, I want to talk about my life and like my next steps. Also peep the hair, bro. Try out some new shit. But with the whole no stress thing, or like low cortisol, if it's not in, or if you can't control it, don't worry about it, or like let God figure it out. Like never stress, don't spike your cortisol, whatever. Sorry, all that I believe is a psyop. It's all to get people to never stress at all. And I don't think you should be stressed, but you should care. And I think people equate stress with caring. And so if you don't stress, you don't care. But there's a big difference between the two, and I want to talk about that. Like for me, I have a job, and at my job, it's a physical labor job. And there will be times where my boss is very particular on getting things done at like a fast paced, getting it done by this time at this hour before this happens. And because I care about my job, I get it done like he says, and I get it done as fast as I can, but I don't stress about it. If something happens, I say, oh well, right? But I do care. And it's not like I say, oh well, and I give up, but I say, oh well, and I accommodate, right? So there's a big difference between, like, I don't know if I'm gonna get this done. Like, I'm gonna try my very hardest. I'm gonna work my butt off, and I'll do the most I can, and I'll figure it out. Because I'll figure it out is not you saying I don't care. It's just saying I'm not stressed, but I know I'll get it done. And so I was talking with this one guy. I made a joke today. All right, I'm not serious about this, but I said, yo bro, should we ethically cleanse all the boomers to reclaim this economy? And he's an older guy, right? And he's a good guy, and he wasn't offended by it because it was obviously a joke, and I don't actually seriously mean that. But I said that, and he was like, listen, and then he was like, buddy, what's the matter with you? Come on, screw your head on straight. And then I said, okay, well, jokes aside, like, how do we actually get out of this fucking decline? Obviously I know he doesn't know the answer. Nobody does. But he says, listen, man, you gotta start smoking weed, and you gotta start, or you gotta stop thinking about all these things you can't control, right? Like, he's like, you think too much. And I know obviously we're different people, and maybe he didn't mean that entirely, but I find um, a lot of people preach that whole, like, you know, you can't control the government, or you can't control these um, very, very, like, high up people, right? And I do believe that to some degree, but I also have childlike delusion inside of me that says, like, you know what, maybe I can change this. Like some Naruto shit where I'll say, like, I will be Hokage, like, I will change the world. And I don't mean that out of ego, right? I mean that out of just raw determination and unfiltered, and unfiltered imagination, right? Like, I just had these crazy ideas that have not been filtered out by the system, and I think I just want to pursue them and see how far I can go. And here's these two things. Here's two things going off of that whole, like, never stress, because I do think maybe it's not a psyop completely, but I don't think it's, like, a good thing to incorporate. Like, I'm never stressed, really. Like, in my day-to-day, I'm never stressed, but I do care, right? And so, and I know we like, our lives are stressful, and, like, even when I work out at the gym, like, that's something beneficial. It's still putting my body under stress, but I do my best to relax, and so I don't think I'm, oh my gosh, like, so stressed, and I'm like, my joints are becoming stiffer by the day just because of how tense I am. And no, definitely not like that. But I do maybe put on a bit of mental strain, definitely a lot more than other people my age. But two things: you won't become reputable by pursuing reputation, and you can never actually change the world if you are constantly thinking about a state of survival, or, like, constantly in a state of survival. So I want to talk about the reputation thing, but, like, let's say, yeah, you want to change the world, right? You want to do your due diligence, or, whatever God called you to do. And so you say, like, I am going to change the world, but to change the world, I have to become reputable. I have to become, a person of parliament, or a person of the party, to, like, get a seat, and then work my way up. And I don't really know what the fuck all that shit means. All that shit means, like, what I just said. But I do think that a lot of people think, like, to change the world, you have to be the president, or the prime minister, the governor. Like, you gotta be something like that. But I actually think that the change happens at the individual level. Like, a lot of the most influential people in the world were never, like, I mean, that's a lie. They were people of, like, power, power. Like, I order this person to die, and that person would die. Like Alexander the Great could do whatever the fuck he wants, or Genghis Khan, or like even Marcus Aurelius. Like, they were of that level of power. So I don't want to say they weren't. Okay, but I do think in modernity, there's been a lot of people who have created a lot of, I guess, like, I wouldn't say change, but they've had a lot of influence, and they had a lot of pull over the majority just through them presenting themselves in the media. And so I think, like, artists are the biggest example of that. But I mean, I think moving forward, it's important to, like, expand beyond just the arts, like be, like, more of a polymath, or, like, a Renaissance man or Renaissance woman. I think that's very important. And so I don't think you should pursue, like, law or business to become a person of reputation. Like, that was something I kind of believed for a while, but I didn't actually believe it, right? Like, I didn't believe it felt like it was almost indoctrinated into me, and I want to talk about indoctrination in a second here, right? But like, this idea of like, if I want to change the world, I have to have like 3 degrees, and I gotta be, there's that meme of that one Asian guy who like was a doctor, was a firefighter, was an astronaut, and was like all these different things, and it's like the ideal son or something like that, right? I think I used to believe that you had to be one of those people with this, just like all these accomplishments under their belt. But now, like, thinking about it, I don't think you need to do that, and I think that's a little bit of a indoctrined belief that I was coming to the sense of, or like I was trying to like solidify for my own life. But I think it's more about having patience, right? And pursuing something long enough for results to show up. And just trusting your vision, right? I think I have this idea of a world, right, in the arts, but also in reality, because with my like style, it's a lot of it is based on reality and the unprecedented, but also the past and what has happened, and also my own life. So, but I don't know, reality and art goes hand in hand, you know, not everything is fictitious. So it's like I have visions for my world, and I just have to stay true to those visions, because I think authenticity is greater than reputation. Like, because reputation, someone can have a great reputation on paper, but like be secretly evil, right? So like there's always that, I don't know if it's a saying, but people talk a lot about it, like when it comes to like, you know, like talking heads, like when they have nothing negative to say and they are strictly positive, they are untrustworthy, because that means they're not human, because it, like a real human being would talk about the negative and the positive. And so I do believe that to some degree. Okay, sorry, I had to pause the video there just because people were walking by. But like, look at, I think Anthony Bourdain and Kurt Cobain, like my two goats, are really the best example of that. Like, just like very pessimistic, very cynical, but also extremely inspiring and extremely authentic. And so another thing I want to talk about is like this idea of survival, and then also, oh my gosh, I got a lot of things to talk about. And I also want to talk about the idea of survival and the idea of living life. Okay, so I believe that in modernity we have gone to the point where we no longer need to think about like these, I think there's like a pyramid of like the most recommended things for like a human being, and the first one was like water, food, and shelter, right? I feel like modernity, or like I guess just first world, right? We don't really need to be thinking about that. It's almost like guaranteed for most of us, unless you are a total degen and you're gonna end up homeless, then maybe you should worry about that. But for most of us, if you're a good human being, you do your part in society, this world is quite cyclical, whatever the word is. Like, when it, like whatever you give, it'll give back. Obviously I don't believe that is the case anymore, and it's slowly becoming like that cycle, that paradox is slowly breaking itself down, and we're coming to the end. Like the economic boom, maybe it was like that cycle was even amplified. Like, you had to give like 10% and you got back 100%. Well, I mean, think about it. Like, boomers didn't even have to save any money and they still became millionaires, right? You could just fucking spend as much as you want. Anyways, with this whole idea of survivability, or like being in a state of survival, right? Why? Why are we even thinking about that? I feel like your 20s shouldn't be thinking about survival and the rest of your life. I feel like you should dedicate your 20s to thought, because that is like the most prominent time. You will be sporadic and you will be spontaneous and you will just be constant, right? Like if you just obviously what do you call it, like dive into experiences and new situations, I think your thoughts will only be amplified, and so that's what I do plan on doing, and I'll talk about that in a sec. But I don't like the idea of like yo bro, you gotta figure out how you're gonna survive. You're gonna figure out how you're gonna survive. Survival should be secondary in modernity. I know it's a bit of a hot take because for so long of human existence, survival was like the biggest priority. But right now, right, use what you can of this dying economy. Use your thoughts. Use this time to think of something new. Think of a way to rebel. Think of a way to build up the new world, right? Like in a positive way. Not that you're eating off your parents or you're just wasting time. Like use your time wisely. And so I don't like that whole idea of you gotta be thinking of survival right after high school. Like right after high school, go to college so you can get a job, so you can make money, so you can survive. Like if you work hard, if you think, if you use your brain, right, if you have that level of consciousness or that depth of thought, like take that time. Don't fall into the indoctrination of survival, right? Like it's a first world idea. It's a first world, right? Like why are you, like, we're still thinking about this? It's like the same thing as like killing one another. Like it's the first world. Why should that even be a thought, right? And I know that Nietzsche says that we are all like animals, or we all have that like anima, or that sinful, or the lion inside of us that could kind of like snap anytime. I know he speaks to that, but I do think it would take a lot for that to snap. Like we do see it in sports, like the whole thing of like the Knicks winning, like, and then people on the street just being like overzealous, or just being like fully fully primal, just destroying the streets. That's no bueno. But I think it does, that side of humanity always exists. Like think of a time when you were just pissed, or you were just I don't know the word, but just enraged, like truly angry, right? Like you probably saw a little bit of that lion come out. And so I don't want to say it doesn't exist, but in modernity, like I don't understand, let's try to forget it, but like think, don't be so prioritized on survival and this lion, right? Like be thankful for that, and then use your thought to actually expand or think of a way to lift up society and point towards the divine or something like that, right? And so another thing I want to talk about is a life worth living. People love to say, like, living life is about, getting drunk with your friends at 1 a.m. on a work night or on a school night, or, sending that risky text to a girl. And it's like all these like living life things. It's like I think, yeah, that's what life is about. I think it's about those the spontaneous moments, or the unexpected circumstances you may find yourself in. I do think that's what life is about, but I don't think you should pursue that. I think when you pursue that and say like living life, that's what's about, I think that's when you actually strip all the life out of those moments, because then they become somewhat formulated and like calculated, right? So it's like you start to almost look for those moments in every single situation, and then it's no longer unexpected, and it's no longer like a treat, right? Like, I think those moments should be a surprise. But if you pursued a life of like say like World War II or some shit, right? Then you would have so many more of those memorable moments, because you're on the front lines, you're close to death, and therefore everything is so much more sacred to you. It's kind of like what Achilles says to that girl in Troy, right? Like he says, the gods envy us because we die, because our time is limited. I don't know if he says that exactly, but it's the same idea. Like when you're closer to death, or when you're on it's like yin and yang. Like when you're on a path, right, about like living life, or when let's say you're pursuing, I was talking about lifting up humanity, right? Like when you're pursuing a path like that, when it is a longer, more requiring of patience path, there will be moments like, your first love, or getting that job, or having your big break, moving out of the country or to a different city, like those moments are not your ultimate goal, but they are like the secondary, the underlining to what maybe keeps you human as you pursue these big goals. And so I think that's interesting. And whenever people say like, oh, Aiden, like you're in your 20s, like go live your life, I never see it as like I'm gonna do it just for the sake of living life, or do the sake of like finding myself. I'll do it to almost accompany my main goal, right? Or to almost boost or heighten my focus on my main goal. So lastly, I want to talk about why I need to live in my car. And I made a video about this, but then I deleted it because I don't know, I had all these other things I want to talk about. So I think this is a good video where I can talk about everything, right? But I need to move out. Not move out permanently, but at least for a month, maybe 2 months. The idea is to travel across the US, sleep in my car, do it at the start as like I'm traveling, I'm experiencing, right? But if something calls me or keeps me at a certain place, or in a certain environment, then I will stay. Maybe I won't return, but I don't know. I'm going in with an open mind, and I don't see it as like, oh, I'm gonna go try to find myself. I think I know the self, but obviously I don't know me entirely, but I know enough to the point where I'm not like doing like a Euro trip, or going to East Asia to take psychedelics and find myself. So I'm spamming self. It's more of I know what's next, or I know what I want to create and curate, but I think I need that, like I said, that secondary to heighten this curation that I foresee in my near future. And so yeah, like all the things I just talked about with like the survivability and like whatnot, like I don't think I need to worry about that. Like I've worked my fucking entire life. Like